Hi, welcome to another cinematic composing tutorial. My name is Alejandro and today I would like to show you a couple of functionalities and tricks that you can use as a composer to improve your workflow and to be more flexible in your composing process. So let's begin with thinking about a template in Logic Pro or any of your DAWs to be able to think in a way that you can easily change instruments and thinking about the further process, the mixing process, how you will want to route these tracks later, because it is very necessary that you think about this before starting the template, because once you take some decisions, it will be harder to change it later. So it's good that you think about every of the possibilities that you can take so that you create a template that can adapt to all of them. Let's see it now in the computer. So for example, now we are in Logic and we want to start building a template. And what we want is actually that this template will be flexible, that will allow us to manage different libraries and to be able to change the sound, to have some root outputs, and it works no matter if we change some of the sounds of the parameters of the libraries that we are using, because okay, we can have our favorite libraries, but we know that they maybe don't work always the best for every single project. Maybe we want to, for a specific project, to use a specific library that will blend better and with the sound of the rest of the sounds that we are using for that specific project. So in order to do that, normally what we are gonna need is a template that can be flexible, and for that what I do is to plan in advance what I'm gonna do with the mixing process later. And so typically, apart from creating a sketching section where I have my pianos and I have like kind of sort of some instruments, this can be bigger, this can be smaller. Right now I chose, I think, around 15 to sketch with short, with long, brass, short, long, strings, low orchestral sounds, choir, guitars, pads, and synthesizers, which can be like easily replaced for another instrument. Typically we want to create our sections for woodwinds, brass, strings, all that, and typically we save our template. There are two approaches. The first is to create a lot of folders where I say, okay, this is my folder with Spitfire strings, and I just load all my Spitfire strings and deactivate it when I don't need them, and then I load all my Cine strings, and then I load all my Nucleus strings, and then my Vienna strings, for example, and then finally you end up like having like a folder with strings with a bunch of string libraries in there that you just activate, deactivate sometimes. This is one of the approaches, and the other is way more simple. It's just like choosing the library of your preference, and then you just build your template according to this library, or blending with others and trying all to sound good together. You can elaborate different projects with different libraries, and with experience you end up learning what sounds better for you and what is better for managing for you. But what my process is a little bit more chameleonic, if you like. I'm gonna be like super neutral at time of creating patches and folders in my template, in a way that I won't necessarily establish one library, or that I can easily replace with another one without affecting my routings. So for example, if we want to achieve that, typically I create like 2 tracks for each instrument. In a moment I'm gonna show you how to do it step by step, but mainly why I do this. Okay, I do this because even though I'm gonna load the same instrument twice, for example whatever instrument for violins is, I'm gonna need like, probably I would like to route this output to a certain bus of low strings or high strings, etc., so that I have control of the section, like of not only every section but also of the short and long articulations or attacks. And I can also divide, for example I can put violins and viola in a bus of high strings, and cello and double bass in a bus of low strings, and each of them routed to the what's short and what's long, because according to that we will probably apply a slightly different EQ at the end of the process of composing and when we are ready for mixing. And it's also useful for exporting stems. So that's the reason why I do it, but you can do it also also in one single track each and using all key switches. If you don't want to separate later for the mixing process short attacks from long notes, then you probably don't need to duplicate everything, and it would be much simpler, and it would be just 5 tracks instead of 10 here. So now that this concept is clear, let's see how we do this using Vienna Ensemble Pro, which is a terrific tool that every composer should have. It doesn't matter if you're using only one computer or several computers, it works for every case. So let me show you how to connect this idea with your libraries into Vienna Ensemble Pro. So let me show you how I do this from the beginning. So I would start here a new track, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Vienna Ensemble Pro in order to do this. Okay, and there's a way to do it with Kontakt, but today I want to show you with Vienna Ensemble Pro. Now it comes a decision we have to make, and this is whether we want it stereo out or multi-output. With stereo out, we will have only one fader in our mixing that will control all the instruments that we load into this Vienna Ensemble Pro. And with multi-output, we will have the possibility to extract up to 16 or 25 faders in our mixer, so we will be able to control in Logic each one of the instruments that come out from this Vienna Ensemble Pro server. So for this purpose, I'm gonna use multi-output, but it is not always the best option. I have to tell you that sometimes you have to think, and maybe stereo is a better option for you, because if you choose multi-output, but for every single instance of Kontakt or Vienna Ensemble Pro that you use, then you are gonna end up having like tons and tons of faders, and maybe some of them you will not even move them at all, or you will control the volume through MIDI or inside the plugin. It's a matter of thinking, experiencing, and thinking what is better for you to control from Logic, and what you can spare that fader in the mixer and you can really control it from the plugin. Okay, but for this case I'm gonna do it multi-output because I also want to explain something else. So I'm going to choose multi-output, and well, this window will pop up, and before that you will have to load Vienna Ensemble Pro. Okay, you will see that I have loaded some things here already. So this one, I'm going to connect it to my Synchron Strings Pro 10 multi-out. But let's do it like step by step, not even connected yet. So thinking I want to do this, then what I'm going to do is create another one, and I'm going to call it Elite Strings, because I really love them. So they are really cool. So what I'm gonna do is starting doing the same process as I would do normally here. So I'm going to go here, I'm gonna click on Synchron Player, and I'm going to go to here and click on Elite Strings. So I have them here, and I'm going to use for this velocity, so I'm going to load one violin, then I'm going to load another one, just because I like to do it twice because of the reason I've told you. Okay, I'm gonna use this one too. All right, so another one, string recollections, some violins, another one, another second violins. I do it all twice because of what I explained you, but you could do it like only in one step. Violas. By the way, the command to open a new Synchron player is Command 3 or Control 3 if you're in Windows. Another violas. So I can duplicate the channel actually. You can do it easier if you duplicate, and I just load cellos. I just remember that I assigned a new MIDI channel, and then I'm gonna duplicate again. Can do also like Command D and another cellos, which is what I want. New MIDI channel, another duplicating for the double basses, and another duplicating, and assigning of course the correct. And finally, I always like to add 2 ensemble patches. So also again, like, so I'm gonna do like 2 of full range. Now I'm going to rename everything. And of course I have to load a patch to be like as a default if you like. And so in this case I load just to have some default sounds. Okay. This might seem it takes time, but really I have done it in a nutshell, and now what I'm gonna do is to save it. Okay, so I go to Vienna Ensemble Pro here, and instance, I'm going to save project as, and I'm going to call it Elite Strings multi multi-out. I didn't make it multi-out yet, but I'm gonna write 12 because when I write 12, I know how many tracks I need later to take out from Logic, okay? I do this very often. For example, you can see here it says 10, all right? So save it, okay? You can even choose another color of my liking, for example, this one or this one, and I click on instance, save project, and I have it, okay? For save project, I'm saving what is in here, okay? And if I want to save the whole template, I would have to go to save server project as, all right? Which I really recommend you when you have all your template done. All right, so right now you see everything is loaded to the master bus, but what we are going to have to do is to set each of them to a separate output if we indeed want to control it from a separate output in Logic Pro, which is our target 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 20. All right, so we have done this. So now we can now go to Logic and say that we want to connect it to Elite Strings. All right, we're gonna click on connect and we should be running. So now what we're gonna do is I'm gonna assign this track to MIDI channel 1 because MIDI channel 1 is valid 1 short. And then I'm gonna open my mixer, and you know there's always this button here where you can click and open new outputs. Right now I only have this fader to control everything. So I've created 11 more, so 12 in total. So I'm gonna click this 11 times. And I have created so many auxiliary channels. So now what we're gonna do, it's just to rename. So once we have done this, I just select all of them, right click and create track, Control T. And there it goes. Now I have all my tracks here. And depending on what I'm using, let's check here if it works. So if I play here, it plays through violin 1 short. And if I move there, long, short, and long notes, viola, cello, and ensemble. And long. Okay, as you see, this string sounds amazing, but that's another topic. So once I have all this, what I do is I select them all and I create a track stack. So I create a track stack, summing stack or folder, depending on what you're interested in. But in this case, I'm gonna do a summing stack because I want to save it as a patch. So I create it, pick this one, and I'm gonna call this just not Elite Strings. I'm just gonna call it like string sections. Okay, and if you like, you can write here like this is set up to work with Vienna Ensemble Pro and multi-output. Okay, typically I do multi-output, so no need to specify. And I'm gonna give a nice, for example, and I'm going to color them too. Why not? So I try color, and I'm going to make all my strings similar blue, and especially in the ensemble ones, I'm gonna make it a little bit darker. Personal taste. Okay, and even though you can put the ensemble ones on top if you like, it doesn't change the MIDI channel here, so this is what it counts. Okay, no matter if they are on top. So once I have this, what I have to do is I go to my library here and selecting the track stack, I go to save, and probably I'm gonna save it in strings, but you can save whatever you want, and that's fine. Okay, so I click here and we save, and suddenly we have it all the time like available in our library at user patches, strings, string section, Vienna Ensemble Pro. So you can have more things. The thing is that now Vienna Ensemble Pro works outside Logic. I don't even need to deactivate anything to save my template. So I can just seriously save it, and the next time I open it, everything that is inside the Vienna Ensemble Pro, it won't take any time to load. It will only take time when you load the Vienna Pro server, which you can do at the beginning of working, before even open Logic if you like. So that will help a lot, because every time you save the project, it won't last forever to save, and for loading it, it also won't take forever to load. So that's very useful in the first way. But the other one, that's now what I want to show you you the flexibility with Vienna Ensemble Pro is that now if I go to here, because okay, you always have to go to the one that says channel 1 because it's the instrument channel where you can find the Vienna Ensemble Pro, or well, you can just also just go to the mixer and find where the Vienna Ensemble Pro is, and you bring it up. And let's say that I want now to use another library instead of Elite strings. So for example, I want to use Cine strings. I want to use these ones that I have loaded here. It's not complicated at all, because in the moment that I change here, I say like I want to disconnect from Elite strings and I want to connect it to Cine strings core and connect. And right now I will be playing my violin first short with thinner strings. So when I play here, what I actually will sound will be the violins of thinner strings core. So here. And that's very great because you see I have done the same as before. So that means loading twice every single instrument. What I didn't load here is some ensemble, but I could load them too. So if I go here in thinner strings core, I go and I look for ensemble articulations and ensemble sustains. Okay, and they are assigned exactly the same way that I have assigned the Elite strings, 11, 12 here, you see. What I didn't do here, after I load all the instruments and before saving, what I do is here clicking and doing a global purge, all samples, and boom. So in this way, when I load the Vienna Ensemble Pro with, and this is particularly, it will load the instruments, but it will not load the RAM with the samples until I start playing with them in Logic or in other sequencer, because this applies to its sequencer. And now it's the moment when it's empty where you go and you save the project. But still there is something here to do if I want to play this from Logic, because the way it's configured now is to work through different MIDI channels, but not through different outputs. So if I go here, you see, I play through the cello MIDI channel 8, which is the cello, okay, MIDI channel 8, it's cello, all right, through legato, but it comes out from the main violin output. That's because it is not created the multi-output inside Vienna Ensemble Pro. But I'm gonna teach you how to do so. We have to open the outputs in Kontakt, and for that we go to here to outputs and we click here batch functions, clear output section, and create one individual channel for each loaded instrument. And I will say yes. And now you can see that each output have been created a new output, like just 1 4 1 2 3 4 6 7, you know, and that's amazing. That's exactly what we wanted. Okay, still it will not work in Logic yet, because here, like, we have now the Kontakt connected to Vienna Ensemble Pro, and now we have to connect Vienna Ensemble Pro to Logic. So for here we have to create several possibilities to route to different outputs. So for that we will go to the mixer, and again we find here again this plus, and then we are gonna click it again 11 times. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11, and now we got here all the out. Rename again, spelling 1 short. And this way we will have everything renamed if you like to. Of course, never forget to save, otherwise you have to do it every single time. And of course, again, you can do it only one if you don't plan to separate later the outputs to one routing or another. So you could do it only not loading twice each instrument or each set of articulations, but just once. And now we will need to assign the buses. So the first one will be to the master bus, and later 3 4, same thing that we did with Elite strings. And now when we have finished this, we again purge global and save again, and now we have really ready our Cine strings chord here, and now it should be really working here in Logic, each of them. Short ensemble, long ensemble, violins short, long, violin 2, viola, and each one of them coming through the output that they need to, so that you can do route for the mixing stems, depending if you want to separate long and short, highs and lows, or none of them at all. So in this way, just by disconnecting this, we have the possibility to move from thin strings core, elite strings, and synchronous strings pro, multi-out. Okay, now we're gonna play a little bit with synchronous strings pro. Okay, ponticello, short notes here. So I have activated here staccato fortissimo, staccato short, it's fine. Okay, and as well with the cello long. It isn't that cool that I can change between all of them, just really clicking, disconnecting, and then connecting, and I could play again the elite strings if I would like to. Well, that's all that I wanted to explain you in this video, but there will be more. You know, cinematic composing is a community that never stops creating new content, adding value to our community. We are already more than 5,000, and we are always seeking for bringing up better content and improving, updating whatever we have. So I hope that this little lesson was interesting to you, that you are now somehow interested in trying in your own projects to apply what I have been explaining. So that's all from me for now, and I hope that you have enjoyed the video. If you like it, just click like. See you another time.